let's finalize our third pass. A few of the tasks we'll need to do to finish off this third section for now is, for one, to definitely animate the upper body as the character is stepping forward and then back. Okay, that's going to move. We'll also add an in-between pose and fix the fingers. Okay, so they'll look more natural. And we'll even see about animating the eyes. We'll definitely want the watchman to look at the hat as he's moving it, as he's repositioning it. So those are some main tasks that we need to get to. So to start out, what we can do is go to the center of gravity control and work on the body's balance as the character steps. So we want to look at this in multiple views here. We can start with the side view. As the character is stepping forward, going to want him to, of course, move forward. So in about 187, we could actually have him start to move forward there. We do have this key on 189. Let's go ahead and move it down to 187. And simply go ahead and move the character forward here, just before he steps. We can even have him rotate down. So body's going to move forward to stay balanced. And since he is moving his left foot, he's going to then, his weight is going to compensate to his right. So here's what we have. Great, and then as he steps and plants, let's now have him move back. And remember, we don't want to have it move back at the same time he's stepping, so that's going to happen a little bit afterwards. So on about frame 202, we'll have him move back, and we can also rotate him back slightly here. Okay, and of course we're going to want to shift his weight back to the left. So we'll look at that. And just before he steps, let's go ahead and have him now start to move a little bit more to his left on frame 194. So here's what we get. Great, and then we can have him settle in at about 202, just moving him a little bit more back to his right. So let's see how this looks in the front. Great, and also on the side. Okay. And now also, because he's moving back here, he's also going to be moving forward too. Okay, so what we'll have is on about, let's say frame 230, let's go ahead and bring up this key a little bit higher so that he does move forward. Let's see how this looks. So he steps back and starts to move forward a little bit. Alright, great, that's coming together quite well. Now, we want to exaggerate his walk a little bit. Remember, this is a cartoony animation, so keeping that in mind, we do want to add a, not an extreme down position during the walk, but just enough where it adds to the cartoony flavor of this. So we can go to about 195 as he's lifting up his foot. Maybe add a down position here. Then as he steps, at about frame 200, maybe we can bring him up a little bit more here. And we can look at the keys that we're setting to, so we know exactly what's happening. And then maybe have him move down a little bit more on about 220. See if we brought him down a bit more there, so that we get a nice valley key. Okay, so it's a little bit lower than what we have on 200. Alright, let's see how, if this adds a little bit of fun to the animation. I think it sure does. Let's look at this in our shot camera, the camera that matters, because we could do so much work in one view, but if it's not going to be noticeable in the main camera, then we've just wasted our time. Alright, this is actually looking quite well. We'll look at this again. And remember, we're just focusing on what's happening till about 230. So we could bring our range to even, let's say, to that time. Maybe 230, 231, around there. So as we hit play, we could just focus on this section. Alright, great. This is really coming together. Wonderful. Well, now that that has been done, let's bring our attention to the fingers. So we're not going to want to keep them in the pose that they are currently at. Going to want to move them a little bit more. So what we'll want to do is, as the character releases, and we're right now focusing on this right hand. So the character releases. Prior to, on frame 201, we'll press S for the fingers control to set the pose there. Then we'll go to where the character actually has his hand on the hat to add our next pose. And then after this, we can add our in between. And if we need to, we could even adjust the wrist control here, which we may need to. And it'll help to look at our curves to see where our key is at. So right now we do have a rotate key on frame 216. And we can go ahead and rotate the hand to fix its position. And being that we did that, let's go ahead and middle click on 230 and press Shift E to lock in the pose there. Then going back to 216, let's go ahead and reposition the hand so it looks as if the character actually is grabbing the hat. So going to the index finger, we can move the root up, we can move the midpoint of the finger and also the end. And we'll add a little bit of offsets in the fingers so that they look a little natural. So maybe we could bring up the root of the mid a little bit higher than the index, bring down the mid part of that finger, and then bring forward the end of the finger. And then we want to make sure it's resting on the hat, so we'll bring that down. Okay, and then for the ring finger, let's see, maybe we can move that over in the Y, also rotate it in the X so it's a little bit closer to the mid finger. Bring up its root and also the end finger. I think that looks good. And then for the pinky, I almost like the pinky's position. I think we could just do minor adjustments to it, moving the BY attribute and also the BX. And then maybe even the CZ attribute and then the D so that it's gripping the hat. Alright, that looks nice. And then we can go ahead and do the same for the thumb. So the thumb we'll want to bring in closer. We can go to the AY attribute and then bring in the Z. Maybe even adjust the end. Alright, and then once we have this, we can middle click on frame 230 and press S. There we have it. Great. Now, what we'll also want to do is add an in-between so that it looks a little natural. So let's do that. We'll go to our shot camera so we can see where we can add a nice in-between for a good transition. Perhaps on about frame 208 might not be a bad idea. So we can go back to our perspective camera, look at the hand, and say we open up the fingers. We'll grab the last three attributes as we've done before and just open these up. Okay, then we can start adding a little offset, maybe just selecting the mid, the ring, and the pinky, the last three for those, bringing those in. And then just go into the ring and then go into the pinky. Can go ahead and bring those into more. And then go to the root of the pinky and just bring that down a little bit more. And then for the thumb, can go to the Y attribute, open that up in the Z as well. Maybe bring that down and adjust the middle and end part of the thumb. Let's see how this looks. Go into our shot camera. Great, so we have a really nice in-between. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and bring our attention to working with the left arm, doing the same thing, or the left hand. So, can start by going to our finger control and looking at the point where the hand is just about to leave the belt. So that's on frame 201. We'll go there, press the S key, go to now our frame where the hand has reached the hat. That's 215. Fix the pose here. Okay, so we can look at the index finger, and let's bring that down. Won't need to do too many changes to this. For the mid finger, maybe bring up the root of the main rotation axis for that, and then also the very end part of the finger, will adjust that. For the ring, we can do the same, and then for the pinky, we can bring up its root and then rotate it in the X and maybe adjust its end as well. And then for the thumb, can bring that down, the Z back in the Y, and I think that looks good. So now we can take this pose, middle click on frame 230 and press S. Okay, great. And then for our in-between, we can go to, let's say about 205. I think that would look nice. We have a general idea of where the shot cam is pointing, so we would be fine just posing it out here. Maybe bringing up the index, going to the mid, adjusting that, and then going to the ring and also the pinky and bringing those up. Now the way we're animating the fingers here, again, it all depends on what you're animating. If you're animating a shot where the hands may be the main focus, then you'd want to spend a little bit more closer attention to the hand. But if it's a shot where the body is generally the focus, then you can get away with just doing some really basic poses with the fingers and still have a nice result in the end. So we can go ahead and take a look at what we've done so far. Can just hide our curves in the shot camera and hit play. Great, and you can see what I'm talking about here. We didn't do much to the fingers, but because of us just adding those simple poses, it looks a little bit natural here. Alright, now to finish this off, this section, let's go ahead and work on the eyes. Okay, so it's going to be really basic as well. We'll make sure that he's looking at the hat, and we'll also add a blink. So we'll select our eye control, and let's say just before he starts to adjust his hat, maybe on 204, we'll press the S key to set in a key for the eyes. And then at about maybe 206, since the eyes are generally going to move pretty quick, we'll go to that frame and we'll move our eye control, even frame it so that we can see it a little bit better, navigate it around it better, and then we'll just bring it not where the control is on the hat, otherwise the eyes may seem to go into the character's head, but just about the point where it looks like he's looking at his hat. Okay, and even right here might be a little bit too much, but we could always go to 211. Let's see, 211 or even about 212, and just bring back the eye control, bring it down, so it still looks like he's looking at his hat. See how that looks. Alright, great. And then at 230, we'll want him to look back at the platform. Now the eyes generally move pretty quick, so because of that, let's take this pose we currently have, and at about 225, we'll press the S key to lock in the pose there. And then on 230, we can basically take the pose on 204, middle click on 230 and press the S key. Let's see how that looks. Great, that looks good. And then we could even add a blink. Remember, the eyes generally change when the character looks at a different direction or is thinking a different thought. So at about 204, we can press Shift W to lock in our translate. Go to about 207, drop the eyes. And about 210, we can just bring them up all the way. Also want to keep in mind his attitude. And it looks like on 208, we may need to bring down the eye control so we can just see the eyes. It looks kind of creepy just having them set to just seeing white eyes. So we'll probably on 206 want to bring them down a little bit more there too. Alright, that looks better. Great. Well, what we can now do is just go to our shot camera, hide our controls, and see all of the adjustments we've made, how it's come together in this section before we move on to our final. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and do a play blast. Here's what we end up with. Great. So this is coming along quite well. Well, now that we have finished this section, we're now ready to move to the last section of the animation where the character runs quickly out of the scene. So let's go ahead and move on to that in the next lesson.